word term. A term is a number, a variable, or the product of a number and one or more variables. So we have examples of those, which are 7, -2y, and 5xyz. So it's important to note that a term does not have addition or subtraction. It is only multiplication of variables and numbers. So again, if you recall last week, a variable is something that represents a number, usually a letter. The coefficient is the numerical factor of a term. The coefficient is the numerical factor of the term. So in 5xyz, our coefficient is the number 5. So in 5xyz, our coefficient is the number 5. Terms that have the same variables raised to the same power are called like terms. Terms that have the same variables raised to the same powers are called like terms. So 7a squared b and -2a squared b are like terms. All right, so unfortunately today is one of those days where we have a little bit of writing we have to do. So we're going to look at properties. And the first property we're going to look at is subtraction. So the subtraction property basically says that we can write a problem as a minus b, or we can write the problem as a plus -b. Now, I will say, upon grading your tests, that writing it the latter, so people that wrote it like this, made way more mistakes than if you simply treated it like that. So you want to get into a habit of getting rid of a plus, a minus, and simply writing it as a negative or a minus sign. This right here, where you have the positive and negative, that is a bad habit that you will want to try to break. There are multiple ways to express division. So again, we talk about old versus new. A divided by B is the old. A over B, or A times the quantity 1 over B, are the new. That's kind of like what you're hoping to get to, or rewriting it as. A property we use a ton in here is the distributive property. Property we use a ton in here is the distributive property. The distributive property says that if we have the quantity A on the outside, we can distribute it into b minus c. It also says we can factor it out. Two helpful things to remember are multiplication by 0 and by 1. If we multiply by 0, we get 0. And if we multiply by 1, we get our original. If we multiply by -1, then we get the opposite. We talk a lot about opposites. So you're going to see opposites of opposites. That's the one we talk about the most. That's where you have a minus, and you turn it to a positive. We talk a lot about multiplying negatives times positives. So if you have a negative times a positive, then you usually end up with a negative. Okay. So one of the big things we do in algebra is to simplify by combining like terms. So we're going to look at example number 1. We have 2h minus 3k plus 7 times quantity 2h minus 3k. So first thing we're going to do is distribute. So you have 2h minus 3k plus 14h minus 21k. And then you combine like terms, so that's h with h, so you get 16h minus 24k. Make sure you watch your signs. Number 2, we have 2x squared plus 5x minus 4x squared plus x minus x squared. So one of the things I like to do is to underline or squiggle like terms. So 2x squared, negative 4x squared, and negative x squared are all like terms. And then 5x and x are like terms. So maybe I change what I do to underline that. And then that tells me that I'm going to group together the 2, negative 4, and negative 1. So I get 2 minus 4, which is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 1 gives negative 3x squared. And I'm going to group together 5x and x to get positive 6x. In number 3, you're going to distribute your negative to both parentheses. So a negative 2 times r gives negative 2r. Negative 2 times s gives negative 2s. Here, a negative is being distributed in with no coefficient. So you get negative 2r, negative 2s. Combine like terms, and you get negative 4r, negative 4s. One of the other things we talk about is perimeter. So when we have an object like this, we want to find its perimeter. So in order to do that, you pick a corner to start, and then you sum the edges as you work your way around. So you have C plus C halves plus D plus D minus C, D, C halves, C, and D. Once again, you want to group together the like terms. So I notice that I have a C halves, a negative C, a C halves, and a C. Well, a positive C and a negative C cancel. A half plus a half is a whole. So you get 2C. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 D's. So the perimeter of the figure is 2C plus 4D. Example 5. We're going to do something very similar again. You're going to pick a starting point. So it doesn't matter where you pick your starting point, just don't overlap. So maybe I decide my starting point this time is in the lower corner. So I have 3x minus y, 2x minus y, 3x, and 2x. So when I look at all of these terms, what I want to do then is sum up all the parts. So I combine like terms. I have 3x plus 2x plus 3x plus 2x. So 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 gives 10x. Negative y and positive y cancel. Positive y and negative y cancel. So my y's end up canceling out, and the perimeter is 10x. Similarly, we can look at letter 6. So again, what we want to do is work our way around. So you can have counterclockwise submissions. So you have 2C. Maybe I look for all the C's and group them. 3C and 2C. Then I can see in here I have 1, 2, and 3 D's. And then down below I have the fractions. So when you have a fraction like that, you can actually think of this as 6C minus 2D, where the 3 is below each part separate. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So when I add that to my piece over here, that's the same as 2C minus 2/3 D. And we're also adding 1C and negative D thirds. So here's all my C's. 2 plus 3 is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 3D. But then I also have 2/3 D and negative 1/3 D. So that's a negative 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2D. Your homework is the next page in that notes packet. You're doing 1-1 practice. You have the remaining 15 minutes of class time to work on that, as well as tonight for homework. It needs to be done for tomorrow.